Hi. Just give me one second to check that I am in the right place. Yes, I am. Beautiful. How are you? How's your Monday going? I hope it's going fantastic. It's fine if it's not, but I hope it's going well. We're going to do some meditation. This isn't a class, it's just a chance to meditate together. These meditations are part of the further emergence work I do. If you're curious about further emergence, I'm going to explain all about it at the end of the meditation. I do these on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday and Friday we just meditate, but on Monday I explain what I do for the benefit of people who are new to meditation. So if you're an experienced meditator, that's brilliant. Can you hang on while I explain what I do? And if this is the first time you're meditating, fantastic, you're in the right place. Now there's lots of different types of meditation. This is what I do. For me, it starts with why I would meditate. I'm trying to connect to a part of me that I connect to every night when I go to sleep. Not the dreaming bit, the bit after dreaming. So I'm sort of dreaming and then I drop out the bottom of dreaming into deep dreamless sleep, where I have no thoughts, no feelings, no emotions, no personality, no memories, don't really have a body, don't have a bed, bedroom, house, nothing. It all goes. I even disappear because I'm not around. I certainly don't register my existence in the way that I normally do. So yeah, that all sounds awful, doesn't it? I mean, that sounds like death. Yet, I love going to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel refreshed. So some part of me knows that wherever I go to, it's a good place. And that's where I want to go to when I meditate. I just want to do it consciously. So straight away, I would encourage you not to try and do this lying down. Because if you lie down, your body will kind of go, okay, I'm lying down, my eyes are closed, it must be time for sleep. So you'll either battle sleep or you'll fall asleep, both of which are kind of counter to what you're trying to do. So yeah, I'd encourage you to sit up. You don't have to sit in the lotus position or anything like that unless you're comfortable doing that, in which case, great. I'm just sitting in a chair. If you're going to sit in a chair, make sure it's not a big, comfortable armchair or you'll just be into the falling asleep side of things again. So a slightly uncomfortable chair. Now, as I said, there's no thoughts in this place that I go to. So for meditation, my mind can't seem to get to where I need to go to. It's almost like when I'm meditating, I go into this room and my mind can't go into that room. It has to wait outside the door. It's not like I don't want it to come, but it just doesn't. It can't get in there. So from my mind's point of view, meditation is just really boring. So it's important to get my mind on board before I start, because if I don't, it'll just keep knocking on the door. It's going to knock on the door anyway, but it'll knock on the door more if it's not on board. So what I do is I make a little arrangement with my mind. I just say, could you just not think for the next 15 minutes? Because I want to meditate. Now at this stage I've been meditating for years, so my mind is on board. It's like, okay, fine. It's never thrilled about the idea, but at least it's on board for it. If this is the first time you're meditating, your mind is going to be into it because it's new and different, and minds like new and different things. Having your mind on board only really becomes a thing when you are trying to have a long-term meditation practice. So my mind is on board. Good. Next thing, stop thinking. Now, stopping thinking is easier than you would think. It's maintaining it, that's the tricky bit. So regardless of what I'm thinking about, which would be the content of my thoughts, the structure of my thoughts is always the same. It's always pictures and sound. So if I turn off the picture and I turn off the sound, that's it, I'm not thinking. Now when I say sound, I'm not talking about the external sound. I'm not talking about turning off the car horn down the street or anything like that. I'm talking about turning off all the internal dialogue, monitoring, conversation, running commentary, all that sort of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. That's the sound I'm talking about turning off. So if I turn off the pictures, I turn off the sound, that's it, I'm not thinking. And as soon as I do that, I'm into the practice of meditation. Now the practice of meditation runs parallel to the intention of my meditation. So my intention is here, and it is to go to this deep, still, calm, beautiful, still, zen-like, peaceful. I'm just trying to think of all the other words that I use to describe meditation. That place. And then the practice of meditation and then starts as soon as I stop thinking. And it generally goes, I'll turn off the pictures and I'll turn off the sound. Then a little bit of time will pass. I'll discover I'm thinking again. I go, oh, I'm thinking again. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time will pass. I'll discover I'm thinking again. I go, oh, thinking again. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time will pass. I'll discover I'm thinking again, and so on. It's pretty simple. Every time you discover you're thinking, you bring yourself back to not thinking. And it's important to know that thinking can happen when you're meditating. It's very easy to get the misconception that to meditate correctly, that you can't be thinking at all. That's not the case. These two things, the intention and the practice, they kind of go together, and they do a sort of little dance, weaving back and forth between the two. Sometimes I'll be very still, and other times I'll be discovering that I'm thinking. And both are powerful in their own way. It's kind of obvious when I'm very still that it's powerful. I can feel the changes in my nervous system. I can feel my shoulders dropping. I can feel my breath slowing down, my heartbeat slowing down. You know, it's obvious. It's not so obvious when I'm discovering that I'm thinking, but that too is powerful. And it's not obvious because it's very easy for my mind to come in and start commenting on doing meditation, which is hilarious really, because going back to that room analogy, it's like my mind is sitting outside the door of this room that it cannot go into, and yet it's outside the door commenting on how you're doing with your meditation. So why it's powerful when you discover that you're thinking is, if you're like me, the sort of things that you think about are all to do with you. So I will be thinking about, what am I going to do about that thing? Why did that person say that thing to me? Why did I say that thing to that person? So on. It's all about me, right? Now, let's say I'm meditating and then I start thinking and I'm in the middle of one of those thoughts. And then I remember, I go, oh, thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Now, what I've done there is I've demonstrated to myself that what I've said is, you know that thought that you were just having, the one that you thought was you and that you were it? Well, you just made it disappear. So you're obviously not that thought. In fact, you're not any of your thoughts. You're something else. That's very powerful. And then the fact that you do that repeatedly, that's very powerful as well. So don't let your mind start commenting on meditation because it doesn't really understand it. Because one of the things that minds can say is, it can start commenting on the number of times you had to bring yourself back from thinking. And there is no right amount of time. Meaning, you could meditate in the morning and you might only have to bring yourself back from thinking 20 or 30 times. And then you might meditate in the afternoon and you might have to bring yourself back 200 or 300 times. Now, your mind can kind of come in and go, this morning's meditation was so much better than the afternoon. Now, that's not actually true. It's not the way it works. It's very simple, as I said. Every time you discover that you're thinking, you bring yourself back to not thinking. If you do that, you're doing fantastic at meditation. Now, the other thing I do is, as all that is going on, that thinking and not thinking stuff, I'm becoming a bit more conscious of my body and tension in my body. So I am just, now I'm not thinking about it, but just with my intention, I'm scanning my body, just becoming a bit more conscious of different parts of my body, from my head down to my feet, then back up again. Anywhere I find tension, I let it go. And I use my out breath to let it go. Because it's natural to just breathe it away. But it's also a great way of becoming a little bit more conscious of my breathing, because it can be quite easy to stop breathing or to hold your breath altogether in meditation. Crazy, I know, but that can happen. So using my out breath is just a good way of helping to become a bit more aware of my breathing. And then the other thing I do is, as I am scanning my body, is I spend a little bit more time on any structures that go across my body. Mostly my body runs longitudinally, head to toe. But any structures that go across, they operate, they have the effect of like a log going across a stream. They pick up the twigs and the branches and anything else that's coming down the stream. Except in my body, that's tension. So I spend a little bit more time on my eyes. They're a transverse sight. My jaw, my neck, the base of my neck, my shoulder girdle, all my joints, my shoulders, my elbows, my wrists, my fingers, my heart area, my respiratory diaphragm, all my intestines, my pelvic floor, my hips, my knees, my ankles, and my toes. It's very helpful to have a nice quiet room when you're starting out in meditation, because one of the things that triggers thoughts is sound. And as soon as you close your eyes to start meditating, your hearing amplifies. So having a nice quiet room gives your mind the best chance to not get triggered to think. And the other thing I do to help my mind not get triggered to think is I set a timer for how long I'm going to meditate for. Now, I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes, but I'd encourage you to set yours for 5 minutes if you're new to meditation. Set it for 5 minutes and then repeat that 3 times, because 15 minutes is a long time if you're not used to it. Okay, let me get my timer organized. Okay, off we go then, into the mystery. It's time. So further emergence is to do with growth in inner growth, growth in consciousness. You could call it spiritual growth, because your body stops growing pretty much when you become an adult, but you keep growing on the inside. That doesn't stop. That goes on for your whole life. You only have to think about who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's really obvious to see that you've grown, you've changed. And just like when you were a child, you went through accelerated growth in your body, they're called growth spurts. That happens on the inside too. You go through inner growth spurts, and they continue on for the rest of your life as well. The big difference, though, between a growth spurt when you're a child is and going through an inner growth spurt as an adult is when you're a child and you're going through a growth spurt and you went to your parents and said, "Oh, my shins are killing me," or wherever you were getting the growing pains. Your parents wouldn't rush you to hospital. They wouldn't even bring you to the doctor. They'd just say, "Oh, yeah, that's terrible." But they're called growing pains. It's natural. It'll pass. It's much harder to know that when you're an adult and you're going through an inner growth spurt. There's a much bigger space to feel like there's something wrong with you and that you're broken in some way. It's very hard to know, to kind of go, "Oh yeah, this is just natural, it'll pass, it's just a growth spurt." So further emergence is about supporting growth, inner growth, growth in consciousness, and in particular when you're going through a period of accelerated growth in consciousness. So these meditations are part of that support. There's one-to-one. I do one-to-one work with people. There's a retreat every month. I've got books. There's a podcast. There's a YouTube channel. So there's a lot. So that's all there for you. So if you're still here, maybe it's resonating with you. Maybe some part going, "Oh, okay, there's something to this further emergence." If you want to find out